The collapse of DOGE tells a story far larger than one failed Washington experiment. It's a warning about the seductions of political theatrics, the dangers of pseudo-managerialism, and the hollowness of imitated populist gimmicks. The Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, was conceived as a radical assault on the federal state. I could never quite work out whether DOGE was some sort of Venetian reference or indeed if it had canine attributes. But Donald Trump signed it into existence on day one, and Elon Musk was given the keys and a chainsaw. You remember the photograph? Teenagers were given access to sensitive federal systems. Agencies were stormed by unbadged teams firing workers by the thousand. And all of this was sold as a crusade against waste, a muscular reboot of the American administrative state. Yet when journalists asked this month where DOGE had gone, the answer was astonishingly simple. That doesn't exist. DOGE had quietly disbanded almost a year early, absorbed into the Office of Personnel Management, with its more colourful operatives rehoused elsewhere. The Great Revolution had been reduced to paperwork. Why did it fail? Well, three reasons stand out. First, DOGE was designed for spectacle, not governance. Its leaders knew how to broadcast chainsaws, selfies and slogans, but they never produced verifiable savings, audited changes or transparent data. Experts repeatedly warned that tens of billions in claimed efficiencies could not be substantiated. Governance by performance art is always temporary, because when the cameras move on, the lack of institutional architecture becomes visible. Second, it was structurally reckless, giving minors sensitive access to government systems, allowing untrained teams to tear through budgets, and imposing mass sackings with no due process guaranteed eventual legal and political blowback. Many former DOGE staff fled, fearing criminal liability. This was not a managerial reform, it was an unaccountable purge. Third, it depended on personal patronage, not institutional legitimacy. Once Musk fell out with Trump, DOGE lost its rationale. It was a fiefdom, so when the Lord departed, the fief dissolved. This brings me directly to Reform UK and to Nigel Farage's attempt to import a DOGE-style initiative to British politics. Reform claimed its own DOGE unit would fix potholes and cut waste, and it's already adopted the signature Trey's grandiose claims, shaky figures and a preference for publicity over process. We're told their councils have fixed 115,000 potholes and saved £330 million by undeclaring climate emergencies and scrapping EV transitions. The numbers are convenient, heroic, and crucially unverifiable. They read more like political sales literature than audited accounts. The British state, unlike the American federal system, has legal constraints, statutory duties, audit trails and judicial review. A genuine DOGE-style body in the UK would collide almost instantly with employment law, procurement rules, statutory powers, civil service protections and local government codes of governance. It could not function as a roving revolutionary force. Whatever Richard Tice claims, it would be shut down by the courts before lunchtime. And this is why Reform's imitation of the American experiment is revealing. It tells us their project is animated not by institutional sobriety, but by an aesthetic of disruption. The belief that governing consists of sending in the lads, firing a few officials and announcing heroic savings, it is managerial cosplay. It is the fantasy that the state is a broken gearbox that simply needs a new wrench. DOGE's collapse exposes the flaw at the heart of the fantasy. Disruption without architecture is just vandalism, and when the noise stops, institutions must still work, budgets must still be balanced, courts must still be obeyed, services must still run. The American version failed because it mistook destruction for reform. The British imitation risks doing the same, and more than that, we already know what mistaking destruction for reform is. It's called Brexit. A serious reform movement would focus on capability, training, procurement reform, digital infrastructure, long-term investment, and get all that set up before it starts firing and hacking away. DOGE did none of that. It smashed, it swaggered, it vanished. Its British imitators saw inspiration from the swagger but ignored the collapse. In truth, the end of DOGE should be a parable for British populism. What looks muscular on a rally stage becomes fragile when it encounters law, scrutiny and complexity. The American original has evaporated and what remains is the choreography. Reform UK is now copying that choreography without noticing that the theatre set that it's imitating has already burnt down. The question for voters, therefore, is simple. Do we want reform that strengthens institutions or reform that raids them for headlines? DOGE chose the latter and ended as a ghost. Reform UK risks building a British ghost entirely of its own. Woo!